fourth talk will be about career and leadership in cybersecurity by Barsha. She is APJ Solutions Engineering Manager at Zscaler. Barsha has close to 15 years of experience in the IT industry with skills and expertise across telecommunications networks, data center, data management solutions, and the cybersecurity. In her current role, she leads a team of pre-sales engineers across Asia, Pacific, Japan for Zscaler. Barsha also has an advocate for STEM careers and plays active role in mentoring and engineering female participations in the field of engineering and IT. Please welcome her with a huge round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Aruna, and good afternoon, everyone. Where is the clicker? Is this the one? All right, okay. Thank you for being here. It's a massive crowd today. I hope you're a little bit gentle on me, but feel free to ask questions. I think it's a total of 45 minutes. I'll probably speak for about 30 minutes. Make it interactive if you like, or we can, after about 25, 30 minutes of me running through my preso, I can take your questions. We'll take it as it comes. Yeah. I know you've just had lunch. A bit of carb hit, I'm sure. So just to get you guys up and moving a little bit, so we're prepared for what's coming, I decided I'll do a bit of a cringe here and do a karaoke. And we've got a few people running around with mics. Could you please stand up and just be ready to go, please? Yep. All right. Dancing Queen. All right. We know this song. All right.
Who wants to
where
sing?
is the? How do you? Is it on?
I am not singing.
Oh no. Sorry. Didn't want to skip that.
Can we play?
We'll get it. Yep. Sound. Is there a sound?
Good question.
We need the sound. Where's the sound? Technology, right? Technology. We'll get there. Every single time, start a Zoom call, start something else, there's always a little bit of troubleshooting. All right?
There we go.
Sorry? When it works, yeah, if we get it to work, well, give us a heads up when it's done. Meanwhile, how was lunch? Shout out. Good? Yeah? What was the favorite part of your lunch? What did you like the most? Oh, really? I hope you saved me one.
Yeah.
Because I was so nervous for this talk, I actually didn't want to eat before that. So, all right, please, one brownie. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Ready?
Here we go.
All right, here we go. No sound. Is there a? Okay. All right. We'll give it one more minute. If it doesn't work, we'll move on. But I do have another video too. Please make it work. Thank you, everyone. I know it was very cringeworthy, but thank you for leaning in. I appreciate that. Okay, so my name is Barsha Karki. Thank you to the organizers at GDG for inviting me to this today. As Aruna mentioned, I manage a team of pre-sales engineers at Zscaler. I will take you through, the careers in cybersecurity and leadership in cybersecurity, and along the way, you'll probably get to know me a little bit more as well, right? Up and down the stairs. All right. So I'm originally from Nepal. I came to Australia in 2006. I did my Bachelor's of Engineering in Electronics Engineering from Kathmandu. And I came to Australia to do my higher studies. So I've done Master of Engineering Studies in Telecommunications and Master of Engineering Management from UTS. And that was a little while ago, so I'm not going to tell you the year, right? And that's my LinkedIn QR code. If anybody wants to connect with me, feel free to connect. If you've got questions or you want to follow up with anything, let me know. Happy to have a chat later. Okay, so here's the agenda for today. That was a little bit about me, and you'll know a little bit more about me along the way. I will touch on two main topics today. So career in cybersecurity and leadership in cybersecurity. As I said, if you've got burning questions, please raise your hand. We'll have a conversation. Let's make it interactive. If not, we'll have about 10 minutes in the end to have a Q&A session as well. So here's another video. I thought as we start talking about career, any career, but career in cybersecurity, and not just for, this was President Barack Obama. I don't know, how many of you have seen this video? Yeah, cool. A few raises of hands, great. And it's great that, few of you will get to see it as well. So this was his advice to young people, starting out in a role. And it really, when I looked at this video a few years ago, I was thinking, when I started right out of uni, I was thinking, I did well in studies. I got a scholarship to do my bachelor's, and I've done master's, and I got a graduate role. And when I finally found a job, I was like, I'm it, Like, I can do my manager's job. To hell with it. I can do the CEO's job, right? There's so much you think you can do. And over the years, I've realized, that was my attitude then, but it does take experience. And the more you know, you think, or at least I thought, the more I know, I thought there's more that I need to learn. And I can appreciate when, other people are doing their jobs and they're higher up, and I can understand why they're higher up, right? So this was...
Just learn how to get stuff done. And what I mean by that is, I've seen at every level people who are very good at describing problems, people who are very sophisticated in explaining why something went wrong or why something can't get fixed. But what I'm always looking for is, no matter how small the problem or how big it is, somebody who says, let me take care of that. If you project an attitude of, whatever it is that's needed, I can handle it and I can do it, whoever's running that organization will notice, I promise. And which is why I think with young people, you don't always need to be so impatient asking for the plum assignment. A lot of times the best way to get attention is whatever is assigned to you, you are just nailing. You're killing it, because people will notice, oh, that's somebody who can get something done.
Yeah, so that resonated really well with me, right? Looking back at what I thought I was, I was better than everybody else. I think over time I've realized if I really focus on the job that I've been given, I will progress, and there are people will notice you, and you will get those juicy assignments, and you will be part of those bigger projects. You will work on bigger, larger projects and opportunities, and work with the banks, and all of that, right? So I think that's one biggest lesson I've learned. So I thought it was kind of worthy to start our conversation with this video, right? So let's start, just to touch on cybersecurity, career in cybersecurity. I thought I'll take you take you on a little bit of journey of what my career has been like, just so it kind of builds a bit of a context around our conversation. So my career journey so far. Oh no. Okay, so that the font, the text is not showing. Okay. Okay, well, all right, I'll talk to it. So my first job right out of uni, being a network engineer, I got a grad role in Alcatel-Lucent. Alcatel-Lucent doesn't exist anymore. It's part of Nokia. And that was, me being a network engineer. I still call myself a network engineer at heart. That's the base of me. That was my first role. I did that job for about 3.5 years, so 2 years of rotational graduate program and another 1.5 years as a network engineer. And unfortunately, at the time, Alcatel-Lucent was kind of shrinking. They don't exist anymore. So my position was made redundant, so I lost my job. And I actually stumbled upon a role called pre-sales role. How many of people here know what a pre-sales role is? Awesome. Thank you. And, thank you. There's 3 hands raised, right? In a almost, 3/4 full room. So I didn't know, being an engineer, I thought you go out, finish your uni, you go and you work on projects, right? Like you get given your project, you've got your workstation, you create diagrams, architecture, you run cables, you fix networks, you routing, switching, BGP, massive fan of BGP, right? But pre-sales is where you actually go and talk to customers and you're part of a sales, you work very closely with sales team. So salespeople manage relationships, they're talking to customers. Every organization exists to sell their products or services of some sort, right? That's how they make business or grow their business. And so pre-sales engineering is where you actually partner with sales people, but you bring the technical expertise. You know what the products and services of the organization you're part of do, and you help sell them. And that's the growth engine. Once the products and services have been sold is when it comes to the project team, and that's when, professional services engineer that I was in my first role, then you work on projects, right? So that was a bit of a shift from a professional engineer to pre-sales. And then after a few years of doing that, and that was at Equinix, which is the largest data center around the world. They are in Mascot. They've expanded now. The next job, after about 3 years at Equinix, I thought, well, I kind of know most of what I do in my job, and I was looking for the next challenge. That's when I thought, well, security, everybody was talking about security, and I didn't have any experience in security. So I thought, I'll go and find myself a security job. And I had to do convincing, I had to sell myself, I had to talk to recruiters, and they were like, you don't have security background, right? So I needed to convince them, show them why I wanted to do it, and how they could trust me. So I spent a year in Checkpoint, so network level, firewalls, security engineer. And then I got an opportunity to work with Akamai. So Akamai, our CDN content delivery network, they do application layer firewalls, there's bot managements, all of these sophisticated attacks on application layer, they protect that, right? So I was there. So as a network engineer operating on layer 3 of the OSI model, I kind of went up the stack and started working on layer 7. So that was a bit of a learning journey in itself as well, right? So the reason I'm taking you through this is just, I don't know if I've been fortunate, but I was also curious, and I was also open to opportunities as they came, even if I didn't know what I was going to do next, right? So network to pre-sales to security on layer 3, and then security on application layer. And then an opportunity came where NetApp, people know here what NetApp is, what they do? Yeah, so they're a storage vendor, right? As a network engineer, I just fix the pipe. I actually don't need to know where the data storage sits, right? But they reached out to me for an opportunity, and in my interview, I said, I actually don't know anything about storage, because I didn't. And they said, it's okay, the hiring manager actually said, I wanted to talk to you, not because you know storage, because you know cloud, you know connectivity, you know application layer, you know security. And first time ever in my career, I was really excited that somebody wanted me for what I brought, not what I knew about their product. And I thought, I'll take this chance, right? And so that's where, I worked for 3 years. My final year, I had the opportunity to step into a team lead role and manage, kind of help grow the team. Not a manager role, a team lead role. And that's when I was on the path to becoming a leader. And today, where I am at Zscaler is I actually manage a team of pre-sales engineers across Asia Pacific, Japan. So I've got 2 engineers here, 2 in Japan, 2 in Singapore, and one in India. Right. So that's been my career journey from where I started, graduate role, to where I am today. And I wanted to give you a little bit of context of that, so what I talk about maybe lands, and you get the context, right? So with I haven't done anything. Sorry. Okay. I thought how best to talk about career in cybersecurity. Actually, career in any field, right? I thought because we only had 3 hands raised when we talked about pre-sales. I thought we'll look at organizational structure, right? If you want to go from just as Barack Obama said, when you are an intern or grad, you start where, and there's a CEO level that you can go up to. You can do your own startup, you can be at different levels. So I thought I'll break it down on an organizational structure basis. And then in security, there's so many technologies, because security is a multi-layered, multifaceted sort of field, right? So there's, in the organizational structure, how security plays at different level, what are the opportunities at different levels, and then I'll take us through technology stack. What does security look like when we look at various technologies, right? Yeah, cool. Thank you. So let's look at the, this is an example of a very simple diagram of a company org chart, right? So we're looking at, when I started my journey, grad level, interns, entry level. So you start somewhere, and that is when, you're, this is a lot of companies have grad roles, interns. It's more as a giving back to the community and investing in that talent, right? So they're not expecting a lot from you. The idea is to train entry-level people. And then, after you finish 2 years of that, or 6 months, whatever that role is, then you become an individual contributor. And that could be as a software engineer, that could be a pre-sales engineer, that could be in support, that could be in so many different aspects of that organization. And then, even as an individual contributor, you could go to senior level. So not everybody wants to become a manager. You probably want to become a CTO, for example, and that's an individual sort of role. So you could start as an engineer, you could then become a solutions architect, you could become a principal architect, and then you could, become a CTO, like a field CTO. And if you want it, and if you're, if you've had the experience, if you've had the opportunity, and if you've got the right motivation, you could actually become a manager at various levels as well. So you become a manager, director, vice president, CEO, CTO, all of that, right? I thought I'll take you through, a real use case. This is Zscaler. This is Zscaler leadership, senior leadership organization chart, right? Jay Chaudhary is our CEO. And this is publicly available information. I didn't actually go into our directory. I just did a Google search. So this is available. He's probably got a few more reports. But I thought, relevant to us. So I belong to Mike Rich's, function. So he's the chief revenue officer. Like I said, sales, pre-sales are revenue generating engines. They sell, bring the money, and then the projects happen, right? So Sam Nair is probably where we will see a lot of, he's the CTO, EVP, and RD. So CTO is all technology. It's technology, IT, support, everything is under him. So if you start as a software engineer or a network engineer or a security engineer, you would be four or five levels below him starting, and then that is probably where you can go to, right? And then, obviously, so if you just think about it logically, you've got the CEO, responsible for the whole organization. It's a public listed company, so there's a board of directors And that's the consulting bit, right? And they're making sure we're doing the right thing by the market, like the shareholders are taken care of. So you see a CFO, somebody needs to take care of finance. Chief technology evangelist, that's probably the field CTO. CTO Sam Nair would be CTO for internal Zscaler team. How do we manage technology in that organization? Whereas Larry would be field CTO. So Larry's team would be talking to the bank CTOs or the customers that we work with, and then having those conversations, right? I thought I'll talk through that just to give various levels available in organizational structure. Now let's look at technology stack, right? This is a bit of a messy slide, and but I think you'd probably have seen most of those logos. And there's more logos, but those are probably ones that we, even as end users, even as, on a personal, personal devices, we use them, right? So we, in a hybrid world, like, before COVID, not a lot of people were working out of cafes or beaches or, like from home, like maybe once a while, or unless it was a very remote job. But after COVID, you've got, I've got my laptop, I've got my phone, I could do anything from here. And you could be sitting in an office, you could be in your head office, branch office, you've got multiple devices. You don't even have, like when I first started, the companies gave me their laptop, and some of the organizations, I just left it at work. And then I went home and I would come back and then work on it again, right? So, they're working the magic. Thank you. Yeah, I don't see my notes. It's fine. So I guess in terms of technology, right? So let's look at mobile devices, endpoint devices on the left and the middle, right? Or even branch offices. There's the technologies on the endpoint and the level of security that's needed at an endpoint. There's endpoint security, there's mobile device management, but making sure that even if there is a malware installed on your like, if you use it for personal and you're not connected to the network, you're not connected via VPN, if something gets installed on that endpoint and then you connect to a work network, VPN, that has access to the internal drives. And how many instances have we heard in the in the news, whereas somebody's device was compromised and people had access to their VPN, which means you've got access to the east-west traffic, because once you're in the network, you've got access to everything, right? So how do you protect each of the endpoints? There's a level of security there. And then when the endpoint is trying to get to any of the SaaS applications, for example, Office 365, Google Drive, SharePoint, which we can have personal device, personal accounts of, or work accounts of. But then you're also, okay, so if I'm trying to connect to my Google Drive and work Google Drive, and I've resigned, nobody else knows, only my manager knows, or my team knows, and I'm trying to copy data before I leave. How do you protect that intel? Because, and this picture is really about the, data is the currency today, right? So if we talk about security, it is, the attackers and hackers are trying to get into your network and steal your data. That is the main thing, and that is what is costly to your business. And that's what the insurances are about, right? Your reputation gets damaged. So then you're managing, where is that request going to, and is there data leakage there, right? And that could be anywhere. That could be your, like Slack, Office 365, all the SaaS applications. It could be other applications hosted in public cloud or private cloud. So it could be in Google Drive. It could be Amazon, Azure. And, if we talk about public cloud, there's my experience in Akamai and my experience in Zscaler. So experience in Akamai, it's public-facing websites and applications, right? So if you go to australia.com, which is Tourism Australia, you'd go there and you have publicly available information. And we've all heard of distributed denial of service attacks. So that's when somebody can target your organization and make millions of requests and then trying to bring that server down, right? And so you've got two aspects to that. You've got public-facing assets, and then you've got internal applications. So if you are a project manager, you want to log your timesheets, you don't go to public websites, you go to internal apps. So there's two ways to, two parts to the public cloud offering as well. In fact, Google has a web application firewall for saving, publicly facing assets, and they actually mitigated 2 years ago the maximum, the highest, the largest DDoS attack was almost 400 million requests per second, right? And they stopped that. Last year in August, it was, I think it was 7 times that, right? Sorry, the first one was 45, and the second one was almost 400 times, and that's million requests per second. And that's the largest DDoS that they've attacked. So that's where public-facing assets are being protected, right? So that's one security as well. And then private, of course, you're trying to mitigate people getting into your network without authorization, without authentication, and only allowing them access to what they need access to at that point in time, right? Good. Okay, so that is, and then there's the whole connectivity piece, right? And where I work, Zscaler is really around secure connectivity. So, we extend the pipes as a network engineer. I know we extend the pipe, we connect. There's MPLS, there's branches, connectivity, SD-WAN. But how do you make sure that users are talking to the right application wherever they are, at the right time, and only the access that they need, like least privileged access. We've heard of that, right? So to reduce, and that's a framework for zero trust architecture, right? And just a quick information on zero trust architecture. The whole thing started when, in 2009, there was a massive attack against very large organizations, including Google, Akamai, and a few others. And that was a nation-level sort of attack. So out of that, like that was, when you would connect to a network, connect to a VPN, and then you've got access to everything. Out of that, Google actually started creating a framework called Beyond Trust. Beyond Trust. So which means, the traditional approach to connectivity is you trust but verify. As soon as you're in the network, as soon as you're in the VPN, you're trusted. And then you add your username and password and you're let in. Whereas the zero trust architecture now is you never trust and always verify, irrespective of whether you're in the network or not. So you start with not trusting them, and only when they give you enough evidence is when you allow them into your network. And this is what we do, right? I guess this probably kind of, this is a very simple zero trust architecture, right? And I think this really summarizes the technology stack, right? So, you've got the users, this is a part of Zscaler, but, it could be the cloud that they connect, where the verification happens, the policies get applied, and then they connect to any of the applications that they need to connect. But, we do what we do, Google does what it does, but not a single company exists just by its own. It's part of an ecosystem, right? If we just talk about zero trust, let's say, me, Barsha Karki, I'm trying to connect to my mail. The first thing happens, my user device, mobile phone, I'm trying to connect to the mail. It will go to the cloud, and the cloud will, the points in the cloud would be the exchange. Or think about a telephone exchange, in the previous days where they would be switching. So think about it like that. They're switching, right? So you would have to. The cloud will kind of say, "Who are you?" That's where the identity management comes in. There's Google Identity Management, Zero ID, Okta, Ping, we've heard those names. So that's part of verifying who you are. Once you've verified, we're looking at what device is the request coming from, right? And is that does it have the right kind of posture? Is it infected with malware? Or like, is that a legit request? And so, you're trying to, what are you trying to do? Where are you trying to go? What are you coming from? And then the connectivity, where are you trying to go? Are you trying to go to public cloud? Are you trying, so that's where the branch connect is, right? If you're connecting from one office to another, wherever, you're trying to see where is it going to. And then it'd be like, okay, you connected, now what? Are you doing the right things? Are you only doing the things that you're supposed to do? So that's where, Splunk is a massive monitoring, SIEM solution. So you're still, you're tracking the whole thing from where it starts to where it's going, and then monitoring. So there's a level of integration with any technology vendor that you work with, or even as a consultant that you can bring various vendors to work together. But it's an ecosystem, right? And I wanted to bring this because you see so many logos here, and they're all interrelated. So wherever you start, wherever you are, and that has worked in my career, it's easy to jump and it's easy to find opportunities in other organizations that are partners, right? And also for hiring managers, it's great, right? Because a person in Splunk is already using my technology, I'm going to go chat to them because they already know my technology. So, it's easy for you to find jobs, and it's easy to get people as well. And I think these days, the way technology is changing, you can't have somebody with 20 years of experience like we used to before, right? So you'd have to have that transferable knowledge. And as you work on different technology, your knowledge is transferable. Okay. So with that, I thought I'll kind of shift gears here a little bit and talk about leadership, right? So we looked at organizational structure, what does security mean at different levels, and what roles are available, and we looked at technology stack and see how does security get integrated at different technology stacks. Now, we talking about leadership and security, right? I think it's a cliche, everybody's a leader in their own right. But I think it's a very true statement. Not everybody in this room wants to be a manager, and leadership doesn't mean just having a management title. I didn't want to be a manager until a couple of years ago, but what is your motivation? And then motivation meeting opportunity is probably how you get into, like how you track your journey. So I thought, I'll talk about a little bit of my path to leadership. So I started working in 2010 as a grad role, and I put my hand up to become a mentor. So I went to UTS. How are we doing with time, by the way? Okay, yeah. Give me 5 minutes, heads up, please. Yeah, thank you. In my graduate role, I was at a company town hall, and this lady stood up and she said, she was sharing about community give back, and she's like, I'm at UTS, I'm actually mentoring at UTS. I'm like, hey, that's my university, how did I not know that? And actually, how come I didn't have a mentor? Like, what was that program? Like, I never had a mentor, right? So I'm like, that's interesting. So, okay, well, now, missed the chance. Is there anything that I can do? And I heard that in probably 2012, and I was like, oh, I wish I could do that. And I thought about it for 2 more years, and then I finally put my hand up, and I was so ready to be rejected when I applied. I was like, I'm 3 years out of uni. Who's going to give me a chance to become a mentor? What do I know? Like, I don't know. But I thought, if when I was in uni, somebody with 2 or 3 years of experience in industry came and talked to me, would that have been helpful to me? Absolutely, right? And that's when I thought. And growing up in Nepal, I was in a class of 50 students with only 7 females. In mechanical division, there were 100 students with 2 females, 1 dropped out, so only 1 graduated. In engineering and IT, right? And I came to Australia, I was like, first world country, and it's not any better at all. Like, even now, there's not many females. It's actually really good to see so many females here. It's growing, but I think not at the rate. And it's not just about gender, right? It's the diversity, it's the knowledge and experience, the culture and everything. And we're so multicultural. Australia is a melting pot of so much culture, and we need diversity of all sorts, not just men and women. So anyway, that's my mentoring journey, and this year marks my 10th year as a mentor. So it's interesting, you know, when I started this journey, I was only mentoring female students, but in the last couple of years, when in the organizations I've been part of, other managers have reached out to me and said, Barsha, would you mind mentoring this person, male and female both? And that actually was the pivot point for me to go, actually, I think what I do makes a difference. So I might enjoy having this as part of my role and getting paid for it, right? So that's what I thought, and I've been lucky, you know, I applied and I got a job. So I also, you know, the karaoke wasn't just Jeshan, you know, suggesting me, but you know, I've been taking vocal classes for the last 7-8 years. Just something, you know, I enjoy music, but I never learned to read music. It was just like a bathroom singer, not to run concerts or things. But I met this amazing teacher who lived in my building, and she's a retired music teacher who used to teach teachers, right? And I randomly ran into her, and she's been my teacher ever since. And so that interesting, right? So we're talking about cybersecurity and leadership, but my music teacher, the reason I haven't stopped going to her, because, you know, I'm not looking for a specific result, is she has students from 5-6 years to 70, and they keep going to her. And I was crap. Like, I'm not great even now, but I was crap. I didn't know, you know, like timing, interval, dynamic levels, all things that you think about when you think about music. And you know, she would pick a song for me, and then I would sing it. I'm like, shit, you know, this is not great. And after 2 months, I'm like, this is actually okay. I can listen to my own voice, right? So I don't know what magic she does, but she's pretty good. But she never made me feel bad about, you know, me being bad. Like, she was just like, okay, you were great at this, Barsha, let's focus on this. And it was little incremental changes, you know, and I couldn't even put my finger on it. But what I've learned and what I've used from that experience is, when I work with my team, you know, I start with the strengths, and I can see what the gaps are, but I can work in those gaps without making them feel bad about it, right? And I think that's been a significant portion, you know, or a contribution to my leadership journey. A few years ago, this is when I talk about, you know, motivation meets opportunity. In NetApp, my manager said, Barsha, you know, I'm going to introduce you to marketing manager. I'm like, yeah, okay. And the marketing manager said, do you have any ideas to content, you know, to create content? I've never done content creation. And I said, yeah, we can talk about it. And then, you know, I actually started a show, and that ran for 3 years. It was called All About Data. I invited people from different industries, and then, you know, leaders in their own rights, and then had conversations. And when I moved out from that organization, that show still exists, and somebody else is running it. But I started it, and that's such an awesome feeling, right? To create something, and then you move on, you know. And when growing up in Nepal, I never played soccer because women didn't play soccer. And we'd always be cheering the boys' team, right? Because there would be tournaments, and I'm like, yeah, our school won, and all of that. The last couple of years, I actually started playing football from Castle Hill Rockets. I live in Castle Hill. And that's you know, that's been a significant thing for me as well, because it's like this breaking the stereotypes. Even if you haven't done it before, if you haven't seen it before, if there's an opportunity, you know, take it, right? And team sports, I never really did team sports, so that was good. And then from All About Data, one of the invitees to All About Data was the VP of Solutions Consulting at Cloudflare, because she was 2 layers up at Akamai, right? And I finished, you know, I moved on from that organization, and Maha reached out to me and said, Barsha, I have an idea. You did such a fantastic job with All About Data. Do you think we could do something together? So now we have a show this year called Maha Barsha Show. We couldn't come up with a better name. I'm like, we'll just put our names together. So that's it. We've got, you know, we've got a YouTube channel, and, you know, it's a very similar thing, but it's more about helping people navigate through careers and see what you know, what we can give from our experiences, but also from the experiences of the guests, right? Here's my team today. That's Della and Sandra in Australia. After a really good quarter, we went for a really nice dinner. That was nice. That's my team in Japan, Kubo-san and Kondo-san. That's my team in Singapore, Roland and Eva. And like, you see, food, right? Food brings people together. The only thing is, I don't know why I don't have food in India. I need to change. I'm going to India next week, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to have a different picture. And last year, every year Zscaler and a lot of organizations do that, sales, pre-sales, like the CRO organization kind of meet somewhere in the US. That was in Vegas. The whole team was together. And then we're going to Vegas in August as well, so I'll get to see them again. So that's my team. And I've spoken a little bit about my journey, but I thought it would be like, it would probably make sense because I'm talking and, just to add the context. But I thought when we talk about leadership, it is about who you are, what do you do, but also what you get, what you seek as well. And, I've talked a lot about mentoring. And for the longest time in my career, I only knew mentor. I was like, whether I'm mentoring someone or I'm asking somebody else to mentor. And me asking somebody else to mentor was from my experience being a mentor, right? But I think there's clear differentiation between a coach, a mentor, and sponsor. A coach talks to you. They're talking to you. They're putting you in a state of inquiry. I have access to executive coach. I've had a few executive coaches, and you want to work on a specific thing, but they never solve things for you. They get you thinking. They're talking to you, and you're using your brain, and because you've got the potential. Mentor is somebody who brings a lot of knowledge. You look up to them, and you probably want to become them. I mean, you reach out to them, and you say, "Can you help me in this?" And they are with you in that, right? And then sponsor. Sponsor is something that I've only recently learned. Sponsor is somebody who's talking about you in places you're not in, right? So in my career, as I reflect, I have sponsored other people. But sponsor is someone you cannot go to somebody and say, "Can you be my sponsor?" It's an earned relationship. You gotta, because and this goes back to the video that we looked at, the Barack Obama, right? When you actually do the stuff that really well and nail it, the job that you're meant to do, you are being noticed, and those people who notice you are your potential sponsors, right? So just learn your craft. Keep working at it. You don't have to be perfect at it. I don't believe in being perfect. Like in my career, if I am really, really great at something, I'll move on because it's not motivating me anymore. And that's my challenge to my manager every time I change jobs. I'm like, if I'm too good at my job, you're not challenging me enough, right? So I think that's, a coach talks to you, a mentor talks with you, and a sponsor talks about you. And those are very clear differentiation. I think it's whether you become that to somebody else or you're on the receiving end, right? Very clear differentiation. So talking about leadership, and this is my last slide, I promise. So I guess, why leadership? I told you about my motivation of leadership. I did mentoring, and then I thought, I actually enjoy this. Like, I love having an impact on somebody else's career and seeing them grow. I guess the thing is, my leadership philosophy is servant leadership. I exist to serve my team. I exist to make my team successful. So if we are thinking about leadership in this room, I invite you to think about what is your why? What is your philosophy? What is your motivation? And I think as you create that path, you've got a mind map, and there's different ways to get there, whether it's an individual contributor to a CTO level, or you CEO, or you're starting your own startup as well. Think about what brand. We all have a brand, but think about intentionally growing that brand. And we've got so many fantastic platforms these days, right? LinkedIn being just one. You can start talking about the things that you do. Maybe you're proud, like your project was highlighted, and you've worked on a movie. Like, we've got a few people, right? Nisha was involved in some. She was part of the creative team in one of the fantastic movies. Like, and we were looking at the credits. All right, I'll think about it. But share those things, and I think that way you are putting yourself out there, but you're also probably creating, potential sponsors, and you're inspiring other people, right? And I think leadership is a journey of becoming. You are who you are, you learn more, you become more, and it could change, right? I guess why leadership in cybersecurity? This is, you know, it's a very holy mission, right? Like it's an honorable mission that you're on. You're stopping bad people from doing bad things to good people. And that's why you want to be in cybersecurity. It's always evolving. The threat landscape is evolving. The hackers are being smarter. And so it means the protectors have to be even more smart, right? And so it's always evolving. And then we talk about AI. How does AI get used in the field of cybersecurity? And you've always got to be able to use the resources you've got and how to stay 2 steps ahead of the bad actors, right? It's a lucrative industry. You know, there's a skills shortage. You know, I think it's a very well-paying industry as well. So, you know, I wouldn't think a leadership journey would be thinking about, I'm going to earn more money. I think that's probably not the right motivation, I would think, for me anyway. But it is a good place to be in cybersecurity, right? I guess one recommendation, you know, and I've talked about mentoring, and that was me just trying to, you know, make an impact, create an impact in an industry where there were not very many females. And that's how it started. But a very good mentor of mine, they recommended this book to me just a few months ago, and I read it, and it's like, you know, it talks about five laws of stratospheric success, and there's law of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and the last one is law of receptivity. And I thought, a lot of people in this room, you know, we're very technical, we like to help people, but I feel like a lot of us struggle or hesitate when we need help. And I think, you know, like go become a go-giver in a world where it's go-getter, right? Like everybody wants to be a go-getter. Become a go-giver, but when there's opportunities that comes to your door, be open, be thankful, you know, and say welcome. Don't just go, oh, no, I'm here to help, but no, thank you. I think, you know, that's something that hit hard for me as well. And that's it. I know I'm going to leave you with this. I think I'm inspired by this quote from Audre Lorde. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. I was very afraid of showing up here today. But, you know, thank you for listening. Thank you. Questions? Oh, actually, sorry. Hey, I have some giveaways. I know there were some good karaoke people, and it's, yeah, there's Bailey's, you know, Bailey's chocolates. I thought and then there's this, all right? So there's a couple of things. I'm also judging on the karaoke, but the questions as well, okay? We're not done yet.
Great,
Right.
that was a great talk. I wanted to ask, how was your shift from an individual contributor to a manager? Because I think that's one of the most difficult shifts, even
Yes.
for people who are senior and want to go up.
Yes.
So how was that transition?
That's a great question. It was tough. You know, I think there's a lot of barrier for first-time managers, let alone a female. You know, I don't want to keep hammering on the point, but it is true. Even barrier to entry in technology is quite difficult. I think what worked for me is my mentoring experience, and also a journey where I could talk about how I've done different things and how I've been successful in those. I mean, I failed, but you know, you don't talk about your failure in interviews, but you learn from them and you create a story. And I think the career progression, like, you know, going from network to pre-sales in data center to security and then application layer, and I think I had a track record. So I think I made it easier for the hiring manager to say yes than a no. But it took time. I was looking for it for 2.5 to 3 years. I was given a team lead role, but there was no manager role that I needed, and that's when I started venturing out. It's difficult, but you know, I think if you keep the focus, and you need to start talking about what you want with your network. Like, I think that's when you find out who can be your coach or a mentor or even a potential sponsor. It could be a friend, it could be your manager. They can all be together one. But I've been lucky to have very good mentors and sponsors as well. I hope that answers it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, my name is Akhilesh.
Akhilesh?
Yeah,
Nice to meet you, Akhilesh.
same here. So I have been working as an environment lead like past 5 years, where basically I'm assisting testing team with environment support and resolving issues in UI and mobile applications.
Yep.
And I'm interested more in currently in DevOps and like let's say cybersecurity.
Yep.
So could you recommend some courses or any certifications that I should start with?
Yep.
Or the other part of the question is it too late for me to switch to a new domain at this stage of my career? Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. I'll answer the second question first. It's never too late. Like you would not, I'm pretty old and I've changed many times. So it's never late. So you said you were part of support organization and you want to work into DevOps, security. I think it's amazing to see DevOps become, development teams become DevOps then, and then now it's DevSecOps. So security is not an afterthought now. It's meant to be at the development stage. And then you're looking at how do you manage that ongoing versus how do you include security at the very beginning. My first cloud, I would recommend a cloud certificate. I like Google, Azure, AWS all have their associate certification, and then you can go to administrator level. I would really recommend pick one. We're in Google GDG, so pick Google. I did Google as well. But what that does is because it creates so if you do one, it's very, very similar. The assets, because everything in the cloud is shared resources, right? Somebody else's computer. So you're looking at compute, networking, and data, really. Compute, storage, and networking. So it revolves around that. And then they've got the other things that you can add on. So I would say start with one and see which bit you like. I think there's quite a lot of, like basic level of understanding of security as well in any of the certifications you do. And then, like when we look at the technology stack, you can look at what part of that are you interested in? Are you interested in endpoint? Are you interested in public cloud? Because once you do one, you're able to create that story and talk about what your strengths are better to a potential employer. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Cool. Thank you.
Sorry to poke my nose in. The only difference that becomes is from becoming a support for non-engineers, you become a support for engineers. That's DevOps. That's the only difference.
Yeah. And then, once you get into an organization, like we looked at the organizational chart and various roles, like if you wanted to actually change outside of support, then those certification would actually help you. Like, oh, I've got this experience, start playing a little bit, set up your home environment. There's a lot of free resources. See what interests you and you can start talking about it. And then they will see, like if you've done a couple of projects, you can show them on paper. That's when people would be interested. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Marcelina.
Nice
I'd
to
like
meet you.
to give 2 questions.
Yes.
The first is, do you have any rule of thumbs to choose between the technology stack or the organization stack
Yep.
that you explained before? And the second, as you said that the cybersecurity or IT field is like a male domination field, and how do you survive in this male domination field?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great questions. Great questions. Thank you for that. I started my graduate role in a vendor, right, Alcatel-Lucent, and then I got to know about other vendors. Some of them, they reached out to me, so lucky that way, but I still had to go through the process. I think there's 2 ways to do it, right? if you're in a current role, think about the ecosystem. What other organization you or the technology you work for interact with, right? And that will be there'll be a lot of opportunities there. Or pick the organizations that you would want to work with, right? And then when you apply to them, I think one way to stand out is look for a role, apply, or call the recruiter first and say, tell me about this job. I saw this job. Tell me about it. And then if you're interested, you send it, call them again and say, I've applied. And then you suddenly stand out from the hundreds of people, because a lot of people apply and then they go quiet because they're busy. They've got hundreds of resumes. I think creating that sort of personal thing, you stand out. I think, so two things, right? Like, think about the organizations or technology that you work with, interact with, or pick the organizations that you want to be part of and start looking for jobs. But to stand out from job applications, make that personal connection. I think that is something that I would, like, I've recommended that to a lot of my mentors, and that's made a massive difference. The other one, male-dominated, how do we survive? It is a bit of a survival, isn't it? Like, I remember, I don't hear it as much because I manage a team and I don't tolerate that. But when you're an individual contributor and starting out, it's, we're already in that environment, and it's a bit like you're shy, you haven't opened up, don't have the experience as much. I think don't give up, and I think find people that you look up to, find other women, talk to them. And it's not just, I think women in the conversation around women in tech, it's not just about, oh, let's just sit around and talk about our perils and talk about what's not working. And even in some organizations, up until 10 years ago, they would organize a women in tech thing and like, oh, come, we'll do a chat, and then you tell us what the problem is like. We don't need anybody to solve our problems, right? I think we've gone beyond that. So talk to them about your interests, like the technologies that you're part of. What do they do? Because there's so many people doing amazing things, and reach out to them, I think, and then share that. And as you get more confidence in your craft, I think I don't think it's the survival. It's not about survival anymore. It's more about flourishing. Yeah, cool. Any other questions? All good? Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
For those who have questions, you can meet after the talks. And
Oh, yes. All right.